Happy Halloween, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Wings Weekly. Jay Kleinknecht here, head coach Scott Langer there. Coach, let's go jump right into the weekend here. 4-1 loss on Friday. Power play was 0 of 6, penalty kill 50%. Turnovers was a little bit of an Achilles heel there on Friday night. You had mentioned that, weren't necessarily disappointed with the effort, but maybe the execution. Your thoughts on Friday's matchup?
There was a lot of execution issues in that game. Back and watched it, and we just didn't make the right plays when we needed it. And they're a pretty good defensive hockey team, so they make you pay on your mistakes, and they did that. And they scored those early ones and set us on our heels, and we just didn't have enough in the tank to finish it because their goaltender's playing excellent right now. Mm-hmm. He really is having a stretch, and he was good against us. So it was one of those games where we needed to respond the next night, and we had to fix some mistakes, and I think we did that. Yeah,
for sure. Now, we talked puck management. A couple of weeks ago, you and I talked about turnovers and what creates them, if it's something that a team is doing, or if it's something that is internal. And you had mentioned that felt like it was something that was internal. What is it that creates those things? I mean, I know that sounds kind of silly, but to the layman, when you're looking at film, when you say bad made the wrong play or whatever? Is it forcing it, trying to force a pass, for example? Is there certain things that you can kind of pinpoint when you're watching?
Yeah, a lot of stuff you do with turnovers in hockey is where it's being turned over. Mm-hmm. Those are the most crucial. We call those the gray zones, and those are the most crucial areas not to turn a puck over because the analytics say that it's going to hurt you.
Yeah.
These players now, they grow up with all these skill coaches, and it's great. Mm-hmm. They have skill coaches in the National Hockey League, but all these players go and they train with these skill coaches, which is all about pucks and having pucks on your sticks and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So their confidence when they get in the game what they go to is they want to beat a guy one-on-one. And as you grow, if you go up the ladder, North American League, college, pro, the sticks get better at every level. It's
okay.
One of the biggest things is the opposition's ability to utilize this stick to turn pucks over or to negate your opportunities. And sometimes players are stingy.
Yeah.
And there is players that you just can't change, and they don't work out so good. Some players got away with it at a lower level, and now they're not having so much success at this level. So, we don't want to take any creativity away from our guys.
Right.
We love creativity. There's just certain spots of the ice that you have to make sure that you manage. Every year you get the few guys that are what we consider turnover machines, and we're on them in video, we're on them in practice, and they end up doing a pretty good job of when there's certain times when pucks just have to go behind opposition D as opposed to trying to beat a guy one-on-one. So, but those will hurt you.
Yeah.
You turn the puck over, and as opposed to taking pucks away, you're going to have a hard time playing.
Well, and you mentioned it needed to be cleaned up Saturday. A really strong third period there. A 2-1 overtime win. Power play went 0 of 2, but the penalty kill was 100%. You mentioned it before the game that you needed great goaltending, and you got it. Really good night again for Moore. What were some of the differences from Friday to Saturday?
Well, we were putting pucks behind their guys, and mm-hmm. we were forcing them to have to defend more. And the more you defend, the more tired you get. And I think we wore them down to the point where the third period we tipped the rink in our favor pretty good. We had puck possession most of that period, and again, we had to fight to get a goal, and Backo did a great job on a wraparound, finding the back of the net, and then that gave us even more life, and we were on top of them again, not allowing them to get many chances at all in the third period, which is what we needed to do. We were close to winning that in regulation, but we had to take it, obviously, to overtime to do it, and it was good to get the 2 points.
Without a doubt. Great crowd on hand, and the crowd was definitely on their feet for that game winner. It was a lot of fun to watch, and like you mentioned, I think I saw a quote where you said it's a great opportunity to give fans to leave the Odie at the end of a game feeling good, and you got to like that because that's what brings them back a lot of times. I wanted to ask you a little bit when we talked about the goaltending performances. When you are assessing a goaltender's play, are there, and I think I know the answer to this, but I mean, are there certain goals that you almost put more onus on the tendy than you would others? Are there some goals that you go look at, that happened out, 15 feet in front of him and, had to make a quick adjustment. That's not an easy save. There are others that are, as they call them, muffins or whatever. When you're looking at goaltenders play, what do you look at particularly?
Well, on the positive side, for me, I like goaltenders that aren't overreactionary.
Okay.
They need to be athletic, but I like guys that are big and square, like Moore, like Pecora play. But, my thing is pucks can't go through you. Mm-hmm. They can't go through you, and they should never go in the net on the ice, But you ask your goaltenders, especially early in a game, to just kind of keep you in the game, let your guys settle in. I think that's a big one for a mature goaltender to understand that you may see some stuff early on that you might not later in the game.
Sure.
You got to be ready for it. My thing is steadiness. And like with Cole got put in a situation where he's got to play almost every night. And I just see his game, it's just steady right now. Mm-hmm. He's giving us an opportunity to win a hockey game each time he's in the net. And he started out a little slow there early in the season, gave up some goals he didn't like. Josh worked with him. He worked on it. And, just for me is, just stop the ones you're supposed to stop. Yeah. And there's ones that you're not going to stop in this league. And just stop the ones you're supposed to stop. And we need our guys to obviously start scoring some more goals. One a game isn't going to cut it.
Right.
We got to score.
Well, and that kind of translates or transitions, I should say, into another question. You were a defenseman. Talk a little bit about the relationship between a goaltender and a defenseman. What is that level of communication like? Because a lot of times I can hear the goaltenders, talking to the defenseman, telling them where to go with it when they're behind the net, or maybe a defenseman to a goaltender, whatever it might be. But there is a pretty close working relationship there, isn't there?
Oh, yeah. There's some structure put in place between your defenseman and your goaltending in ways that our teams are forechecking against you.
Okay.
We'll work on that from week to week. But that goalie communication with the 2D, I'll tell you, it's not easy to put into place because the game happens so fast, things happen so fast, but they work together. Those three guys and the center are working together to break pucks out, so they have to all be on the same page. So Josh spends quite a bit of time on that goalie communication and what the reads are. We want goaltenders to move pucks to certain spots, and so far it's been pretty good.
And from the defensive side, what can they do? I mean, away from, like you mentioned, but from a goaltender, is there a way, not a way, what responsibility lies with the defenseman to be able to communicate with the goaltender? Because we kind of mentioned the goaltenders talking to defensemen, but it works the other way too, doesn't it?
Well, it does. Your weak side D on most players is the guy commanding the play.
Okay.
And his communication with the goalie and his defensive partner are key. But the guy away from the puck is normally the guy that's sending in the information to those guys. And then obviously after repetition of doing it and practicing it, it becomes second nature for those guys.
Right, okay. All right, well, again, solid weekend for your Wings, particularly on Saturday night. Right now, Austin sitting at the top of the division with 20 points, Minot with 20, North Iowa with 18, Aberdeen with 17, then St. Cloud 13, and Bismarck with 12. You've got North Iowa next. First trip down to Mason City this year. You've seen this team, but here at the Odie, they're obviously, playing fairly well with 18 points right now, and there's some different structures, different things that the North Iowa team seem to do from game to game. What have you seen? What can you tell us about this North Iowa Bulls team?
Well, like the game they won this weekend, they got leadership from Dombrowski, one of their veteran players, that, they have those guys stepping up. They have veteran players on that team that can definitely hurt you if you allow them to do that. I think their goaltending's been really good. And Todd likes skilled hockey teams that get up and down the ice. So we're going to have to be really good defensively. We're going to have to get goaltending again, and we're going to need to have some timely scoring. They like to exchange goals a lot. And I think they did a really good job against Springfield, obviously, on Saturday, and they only gave up 1, and I think they put up 6 or something like that. But they're a good hockey team. They can skate. And I thought their decor was solid when they were here. I thought they just kept it simple, moved pucks up the ice, and they got that one line that can really do some damage there.
Okay, looking forward to those games down there again in Mason City. You're a guy that loves to win. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Would you say that you love to win more than you hate to lose, or hate to lose more than you love to win?
Oh, I hate to lose more. I hate to lose at anything. Like, it's just been who I am.
Right.
I think everybody knows that. That's been by me. It's just losing just tears me to pieces.
Okay, so now a follow-up question. Would you rather lose every game or never be able to play?
Oh. Rather not play.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. I kind of figured that might be your answer, actually. All right, well, one other quick question here. Halloween's today. I don't really picture you as a costume guy. You're not going to dress up?
No, but going to take the kids trick-or-treating, which is, for us, the first time, so it's exciting.
Yeah, get them all dressed up. So what are they going to be?
Dinosaurs.
Yeah?
Yeah, they love dinosaurs.
Awesome. All right, well, Coach, thanks so much for taking some time to join us, as always. And look, again, a recap of the weekend, but a look ahead to Mason City this coming weekend down in their building. So best of luck against the Bulls coming up.
Thanks, Jay.
All right, we'll return with the second portion of Wings Weekly coming up after this.
We raise the bar on bar food with sandwiches, tenders, and there's more where this came from. To the greatest of all times.
Wings Weekly continues on, and as usual, a player is joining me. This time, it is Alexander Gullichsen of Turku, Finland. 6 goals, 6 assists on the season. I appreciate you taking some time to talk with us a little bit here.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. Turku, Finland. We're going to get to this, but tell us a little about that. That's the oldest city in all of Finland, I understand, and it kind of sits on a seaport. It has to be kind of quite a bit of shock to come to the United States and be surrounded by farmland, huh?
Yeah, it's honestly a little bit of shock, but I think the people are kind of same, just a little bit more like friendly in the United States and Finland, and just it's a little bit shocking, but not too much different.
Is that a pretty big city?
Yeah, it's pretty big. It's like one of the biggest back home in Finland. So
okay, I was looking up some facts, and I did not come across the population, but it seemed like a pretty big city. Your impressions, your thoughts, like you said, people are pretty much we call it Midwest nice or whatever around here. But what were you when you first came to town? Were you like, man, this is like a small town, or were you what were your first impressions?
To be honest, I've been to big cities in the U.S., for example, like New York and Vegas and stuff. So coming here at first was like, oh, it's actually really small. Mm-hmm. But all the people around here showing support for the Wings and being a big thing in town, and yeah. So it's kind of nice, and I love it so far here.
Excellent. Well, we're happy to hear that. I always start with how you got your start in hockey and how you started to play, or when you started to play, all of those kinds of things. But you have some pretty important influences when it comes to the game of hockey that kind of got you going. Isn't that right?
Yes, that is right.
Okay, so tell us a little about that. How old were you when you started skating, and who are those influences?
I think my mom put me first on skates when I was 2 years old.
Okay.
And she would just love to bring me outdoor skating. And I have a brother who plays pro hockey right now, and just loved watching him all the time growing up, play all those games on the front and backyard, and just being around him at the rink and watch games.
Couldn't help but fall in love with the game itself, huh? Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. I'd heard or saw somewhere that you had a brother that that played collegiate too, and then it was in the pros now. So do you get a lot of feedback from him? Does he maybe say, hey, you need to do this, do that? Does he follow your career, your games at all?
Yeah, he watches Aberdeen Wings, and we usually talk about my games after the game, and then we like to talk about his games too, and it's kind of an open relationship. We can talk about anything we want, and sure. He gives feedback, and I'll try and make the best of it I can.
How about style? How would you describe your playing style?
I'm honestly a big guy, not maybe the heaviest guy, but I'm tall and I should be able to use my height and weight to create separation in the corners and play aggressive in front of the net. And I think I have a pretty good shot, so try to utilize it and score some goals.
Well, 6'3", 190 pounds. That's a pretty big guy for sure. But you know what? I'll be honest with you. When I watch, a lot of times I feel like you play bigger than you actually even are. I've thought that where you do a very good job of creating space, and not only in corners and stuff where the board battles are and so on, but it seems like you use your strength and your size to kind of open up passing lanes and so on too. So that's pretty cool. I can see that. Would you say there's a player that you watched growing up, maybe in the NHL or something like that you've kind of modeled your playing style after?
That's a hard question. I never actually watched anyone else except my brother as like a role model. So it's a pretty hard question.
Yeah, okay. Well, and not everybody does. I mean, not everybody they have their own style, but then there's others that say, I feel like I play a little like this person or that. So I wanted to ask you that. Okay, it's Halloween here today in the U.S., well, I guess worldwide, whatever. What Finnish holidays are there that you guys have that we don't have here in the U.S.?
Oh, it's a tricky question. Thanksgiving for sure.
Yeah, we have that, yeah.
We don't have it, so.
Right. 4th of July, obviously, you don't have either.
We don't have that either.
What holidays do you have? Like, are there certain traditions and stuff like that?
Christmas, Easter, and then we have usually like spring break, and it's not like big holidays, but
okay.
We celebrate them a little bit different.
Okay, very interesting. All right, I was interested or curious to talk, with European players about the differences culturally, not just from a hockey standpoint, but and along the lines of holidays. At least in the United States, holidays are kind of revolve really around food. Thanksgiving, you have the turkey and the mashed potatoes and so on. The 4th of July, it's the hot dogs and the brats and whatever else, all those kinds of things. What foods are Finnish people famous for? What are foods that you guys eat on a regular basis?
We have like basic foods.
Yeah.
Like we love, for example, seafood. Then we have all of those like basic home foods you make, like macaroni and ground meat and pretty much chicken, pasta, whatever. And then you add like some kind of vegetables, so the plate looks green and nice. So
yeah,
that's like the biggest difference I noticed. Like the green stuff that comes on the plate, like the food like in concrete, it's different.
Yeah,
here in America.
What would you say? Do you have a favorite American food that you've come across?
I would say maybe a little greasy, but the burgers are so good.
Yeah.
And all the pizzas.
Yeah, I gotta love the pizzas. Okay, well, good. Glad to hear it. And like I said, it's just something I'm always curious about, because I've heard that before, that oftentimes European food is a little bit more on the bland side, and that it doesn't have all of the sugars and the spices and stuff that we add, which is probably good, to be honest with you. But all right, how about hobbies, interests? What do you like to do when you're not at the rink? What do you like to do when you're not playing hockey?
I like to watch TV shows. I like to hang out with the guys, play basketball, play ping pong, swimming, whatever to do with the guys.
Yeah. What TV show, if you've got the remote in your hand, what are you looking for?
I'm looking for like some great TV shows I watch. For example, Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of that. And then lately I've been watching Suits on Netflix. And yeah.
I've only seen Suits a handful of times, but I was hooked on Game of Thrones for sure. That's a great show. All right, we've got I was just talking with Coach about coming off a win in overtime on Saturday night. There, the locker room's got to be feeling pretty good about that, and trying to get things rolling a little bit. One of the things Coach talked about in actually the last couple of weeks is some of the turnovers and problems that that you guys have had at different times, and it seems like it goes away for a while and then it kind of pops back up, where there's some turnovers where they're creating giving opportunities for the opposition to score some goals, and I wanted to ask you as a player if the bench can feel that. Because it does seem like it goes in waves. You know what I mean? And I always wondered, is it something emotionally where you're getting a little too amped up or whatever it might be that creates some problems as far as turnovers go. Is that something that as the game is going on, you guys can recognize as a player?
Yes, we can absolutely recognize it, but it's just like you got to fight over it and create some good momentum with the next shift coming up, and just talk about it as a team. We have a great guys on the team who's like able to talk about it in the locker room and take it up on the table and talk it through, and then we go out there next period and make it better.
Yeah, I was going to say, it does seem like something that when it does rear its head, so to speak, Saturday night was a much cleaner game, and then there's even times during the game that you can kind of see a difference, the ebb and flow of it, So I thought that was kind of interesting and something that I wanted to talk to you from a player's standpoint, So Mason City, we're headed down to Iowa for the first time this year, coming up this weekend. North Iowa Bulls have had some pretty strong success so far this year. They, Wings saw them here and haven't been in their building yet, but either way, they're playing pretty well. What do you guys as a team, like I just asked Coach what needs to be done as a team. His perspective is obviously a little different because he's looking at structure, he's looking at game planning and all of those kinds of things. But as a player, what do you feel like this locker room needs to do?
We got to, first of all, have a good practice week. Mm-hmm. I feel like we've been having good days and then we have off days, so we got to get a good practice week going, listen to coach steps, pre-scout, and do the things we need to do to beat the North Iowa Bulls. Okay,
it all starts with the preparation, huh? Practice and preparation, having a good week of work, and then hopefully that translates into a good weekend of games. So.
Exactly.
All right. Well, Alexander, I appreciate you coming on. That's really about all I've got for you, though. And I promise you it wouldn't take too long, but, just an opportunity for fans to kind of get a look into your life and to see what, behind the visor, so to speak. Anybody at home or a place that you want to send a shout out to?
Yeah, my mom and dad back home, and my friends, of course.
Okay. Well, this weekend, as I just mentioned, the Wings are on the road going to Mason City to take on the North Iowa Bulls. Puck drops inside the Mason City Arena at 7:10, both Friday and Saturday night. Catch the action using your Hockey TV login or watch the games at Buffalo Wings and Rings in Aberdeen, the official home for all Wings away games. The game's audio will be broadcast via Hub City Radio's 94.1 The Rock, or you can download the Rock app and listen anywhere on your mobile device. We'll be back at the OD on Friday and Saturday, November 11th and 12th for our Veterans Day game and Sanford Children's Miracle Network weekend, with specialty jerseys worn all weekend and auctioned off after Saturday's game. Stay tuned to AberdeenWings.com for more details. A few corporate night sponsorships are still available for the 22-23 season. Call Aaron at 380-5852 to see what's open. Wings hockey clinics with assistant coach Zach Stepan continue. Up next, in an efficiency skating session this Sunday, November 6th, right here at the ODI Center. For more information or to get your skater registered, visit AberdeenWings.com. Don't forget you can listen to Wings Weekly on the go via our podcast. Find the audio for this season's episodes on Spotify, Stitcher, or iHeartRadio. And for all the latest news and information on the Wings, visit AberdeenWings.com or follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and on TikTok. Once again, Alexander Gullichsen, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Absolutely. All right. Well, folks, that's going to wrap up this week's Wings Weekly. Have a safe and happy Halloween.